Hello and welcome to Untwisted Threads. This is Knit Pig's palette. This 100% Peruvian Highland wool yarn features over 140 colors. The colorway that we chose is Clematis Heather. This 50-gram skein with 231 yards works up as a fingering weight yarn. The suggested gauge on a US 1-3 or 2 1/4 and 3 1/4 millimeter needles is 28 to 32 stitches per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. For our swatch, I will be using a 4.5 millimeter needle size. In today's video, we're going to review and score Knit Pig's palette using our 5 categories, which are availability, softness, traction, durability, and cost, to help you decide if this is the best yarn for you and your next project. Stay tuned until the end for a few pattern recommendations as well. Would you like to see how all of our yarns compare to one another or enter to win our monthly giveaway? Join our free newsletter linked in the description box below. Let's get started. For availability, we give palette a score of 1.5 out of 5. This yarn is exclusively sold on the Knit Picks and We Crochet website. However, they do currently offer shipping to the United States, Canada, the UK, and Australia. Now, from a knitter's perspective, who ideally would like to see the colors of yarn in person first before making a decision, I would love for there to be an option to purchase a color card beforehand instead of trying to make a decision just by looking online. Yes, they do color correct their photos to try to make them as accurate as possible and have a value pack available for purchase, but I don't know about you, but I think that $748 is just a little steep and unnecessary for me just to be able to see all of their colorway options. For softness, we give it a score of 3.7 out of 5. This is pretty much exactly what I would expect a Peruvian Highland wool to look and feel like. Matte, a little bounce, and a little dry. It's about at or just slightly more rustic than my tolerance level. It wasn't the worst irritation for my skin, maybe because this is a fingering weight and not thicker. Personally, I know that 100% Peruvian Highland wool is often hit or miss for me, being my irritation or rustic tolerance level. Maybe it's because I'm not accustomed to more rustic wool with my sensitive skin. For a comparison though, it is softer than Knit Picks wool of the Andes and not quite as soft as Sandnesgarn Sisu. I'd say after blocking, it's pretty comparable to Cascade Yarn's 220. For a micron count or softness scale rating, we'd estimate it to be about a 27, which I know that this micron count is the average for this fiber and also my tolerance level. Even though this yarn is not superwash treated, which often makes a yarn softer, it still has a good hand, and I did notice it softened some after blocking. I of course have felt more rustic and also softer yarns than this before, but I would consider this one to be on the more common or rustic side. Peruvian Highland wool is a fiber that is light, sometimes soft, and easily absorbs moisture that will keep you nice and warm. It's also known for its breathability and will actively react to the changes in a body's temperature. For traction, we give it a score of 4 out of 5. This loose 2-ply yarn had a tendency to stick to my finger when knitting, but luckily not itself. It also didn't have too much grip or traction on the needles. I probably wouldn't opt for wooden or bamboo needles unless you're a beginner, because I feel like it would just have too much drag and slow you down, but that of course is a personal preference. I was happy to find that its loose spin didn't split or cause me any issues when working with it. I will mention that it doesn't have the greatest stitch definition, but that could be due to me using a larger needle size. For durability, we give it a score of 4.5 out of 5. The qualities of Peruvian Highland wool allow this yarn to have more strength and make it hardier than, for example, merino yarn. As the nature of wool, you may have some pilling and could experience some felting in high friction areas, so that is something to keep an eye out for. And when it came to the stress test, we didn't recognize anything fabric to fabric, but I did notice a few pills when feeling it in my hands. Because it is not superwash treated, you will need to hand wash your garment made with this yarn. And because it is feltable, high heat, irritation, and moisture could cause your project to change in ways that you don't want it to. For cost, we give it a score of 4.5 out of 5. For being a 50-gram skein, you can expect to pay $4.99 US per skein. That breaks down to about 2 cents per yard, meaning a size medium sweater would cost about $30 or $9 for a pair of socks. Overall, we give Knit Picks palette a score of 3.64 out of 5. I've really wanted to love this yarn more. There are so many colorway options to choose from. It's just that my sensitive skin was holding me back from being able to enjoy working with it more. However, if you are able to work with more rustic wools, this could be a great option for you to try out for your next project. So we had a little look on Ravelry and wanted to share a few pattern recommendations with you, hopefully to inspire you if you're wanting to use this yarn for a project of your own. The first pattern is the Marled Rib Hat by Hannah Maier. This free pattern comes in 2 sizes ranging from 17 to 24 inches unstretched and a height of 10 inches tall. It suggests using a US size 4 or 3.5mm needle and 2 strands of pallet held together to meet gauge. It is knit from the bottom up in the round in a 1x1 twisted rib knit texture. Because this pattern calls for 2 strands of yarn, you could use 2 different colors to create a marled looking colorway. The next pattern is the Ursula cardigan by Davies Designs. It comes in 6 sizes with finished bust measurements to fit bust sizes of 32 to 48 inches. It suggests using a US 2 and 2.5 or 2 3/4 and 3mm needle size to meet gauge. It is knit in the round from the bottom up. Steeks are cut for the front and arm size openings, and the sleeves are then worked top down. She also opted to use snaps in place of holes to help the button bands retain their shape over time. The pattern includes full color charts and instructions for steeks and finishing. The last pattern is Ferocious, Briocheous by Stephen West. This free scarf or cowl pattern comes in 1 size with finished measurements of 10 inches wide by 56 inches in circumference unblocked. It suggests using a US 4 or 3.5mm needle size in brioche stitch to meet gauge. It is knit flat and is seamed with a half twist. He suggests that this would be a suitable project for a beginner at knitting brioche, as this was actually his first brioche project. Have you used Knit Picks palette yarn before? What yarn would you like for us to do a review on next? We would love to hear your thoughts and recommendations in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's review, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.